Be strong.
Howdy everyone, welcome back to JimKiDo. I'm Jim. Thanks for coming back. It's been quite the effort so far to dig through what all's been going on. So far I have now finished the turret. Look at this monster. So I have to thank Last Stand Gamers and Kanajashi for all the work that they've shown on YouTube with their many videos talking about builds and turrets and a lot of these different aspects, like these graded armor sections. Hopefully this will be able to withstand a certain amount of the attacks from the no surrender scenario drones that will be hitting this for everything they're worth. This is what it looks like so far. Actually, I have a slight problem right now with let's see how we're doing here. Okay, that's off. And so I'm going to park this bird over here, because what's happening right now is the way Space Engineers works with grouping of things. When I go to select the Gatling guns, when this is hooked up to the connector on the ship, it apparently is able to go off and go pick up all these guns too. And because they're pointed at the back of my ship, that means they end up shooting the back of my ship. I've had to repair this door now twice. So I'm trying to learn from my mistakes. Let's see if I've done a good job or not. Alright, so here we go. So right now we're going to select the remote control showing down below. And now we're actually associated with the remote control on the turret itself. So if I unlock the axial rotor, it will now be able to go through and turn like that. So and because I've got the Gatling guns actually on right now, if I shoot, now we have a serious barrage of bullets going downrange. Alright, so let me lock this up real quick, get my orientation back the way it should be, and actually there. So if I click on the camera mode, alright, so now I can dig in. So you can see, let me unlock the rotor. You can see there's actually locks on how far I can slew from one direction to another. So see, and the same thing goes down. That's as far down as I can go, and that's as far up as I can go. So, and then here I'm back in level plane with the rest of the ship. So, here, let me go back into that mode again. Unlock. Here, I'll just go. So you can see there's the laser pointers, and that's showing where the guns are actually pointed. So if they're within a certain range, I'll be able to actually see that they're in range. And then if I, there you go. That's a lot of bullets going down range. Excellent. So hopefully this ends up being a success. Hopefully there's not too much lag when I use the guns while flying. And then we'll go ahead and pop out of this. Alright. Let's go take a look at the turret real quick. So, what we have here. We have a combination of heavy and light armor blocks, so all the front here is heavy. The only thing that I kind of regret this, but it's a bit of a pain in the butt to try and redo it now, but all these guys are actually light armor blocks. They probably should be heavy armor blocks. So I may end up regretting that. But it took a little bit to understand exactly what this pattern, how this pattern needed to be situated. This is obviously, if I go and select, so this is a 2x1x1 sloped armor piece, and that's backed up by another, and then it's that pattern is reversed, but they're staggered. One block depth is the stagger, and because of the way the block hitbox detection works in Space Engineers, the hope is that any kind of off-site, offline hit will end up hitting these instead of the guns back behind them. Now, obviously, there will be a problem at some point in time where these will eventually get hit enough where the guns end up being impacted, and I'll have to figure out what to do as far as keeping those fixed on an ongoing basis. But if we look inside, you have actually several different layers of blocks. And this is really kind of based on my, I had played the Frostbite mission, and that actually taught me a good bit about how offset armor can work in this game. And that's what I've kind of based a lot of this around. So if something is going to be hitting from the back here, that's going to be something of a problem because all of this is light armor blocks. Now it is several blocks deep, but it's not as heavy as the front section is, where these blocks are actually 2 to 3 blocks deep, but there's still a gapping in the back where there can be deformation without an impact deeper in. Now, also, again, if you've noticed, I actually have a different pattern of armor on one side of the turret over the other. Now, part of you will probably say, well, gosh, Jim, that was lazy. But actually, I'm doing this for a reason. I need to get more information about what kind of angular blocking is more effective in scenarios like these. And so I've got a bit more of a rake up here, but a more gentler slope down here, whereas it's the opposite. Down here, it's a more severe rake, and here it's a bit muted. The top, of course, is 2 to 3 layers deep. Overall, I'm hoping that this ends up working out pretty well, that most of the hits that come in end up glancing, and so this should be able to withstand a bit more of the punishment that I know is going to be coming its way. And if you notice, there was, what was it, like 90,000 rounds that this had access to. So there's no ammo right there yet. Here, let me double check, make sure that I've got a good amount of ammo. I know I have some ammo here. Let me grab as much as I can. And I will go and throw that in here. There. Good. Okay. So what's hard to see right now is the level of detail that's gone into the design on this. Now, Last Stand Gamers have a really, really good tutorial on how to make turrets, and I tried to follow that religiously. But what we have here are a series of these smaller gyroscopes at the bottom, and they are basically they're basically turned off, but they still kind of come into play. And then there are a large battery of gyroscopes all through the back here, going across this entire back. I think it's something like 36 of them. Let's see, what do I have down here? I have, so that's 9, so that's 18 down below, so 36 up above, and this makes this pretty easy to maneuver given its size, and that's fine. It doesn't need to be the fastest thing, because we have all these other turrets that are in play. All of these turrets are in play, all of these turrets are in play, etc. So this is essentially all of these are point defense systems, essentially. They're not really intended for direct attack. It's, you know, if something comes in range, and it will go and engage. But this is really the only one that I'm intending to control on an ongoing basis, even though I could control any one of these others. Between this and the rocket launchers, I think this is a good pattern in which to try and bring the fight during the never surrender scenario. Time to go hit the VC. Not to get off track too much, but you may notice that I've cleaned up the place a bit. I've taken down the other solar panels, and I'm going to be taking this one down as well. Now, part of the reason why I'm doing that is if you hit both the left and right bumpers and then hit the menu button on the controller, you'll bring up these warnings that actually show any particular issues that the game is having while it's running. And right now, you know, the main problem that I have is that the scene is too complex. It wants me to reduce the number of grids that are out there to improve performance. But because I've got experimental mode on, it's allowing me to continue to function. And so far, right now, it's still very much, it's not a lot of lag going on right now. At the same time, the ship is not moving anywhere, so that's a little bit better. But the difference between what you saw before and now is that if you notice, these merge blocks are not green. They're not connected. So the ship is actually standing on the platforms here. While we are connected up here, the ship is not exactly on the same grid as the rest of the base. But regardless of that, the overall build is just about done. Now, I did want to kind of go back through and show what, here, let me do a real quick. So I'm going to top off real quick, and then I'm going to save this, and I'll pull up what this ship looks like in its current blueprint, so you can see what that turret was originally, and see what the difference was in the overall design. Okay, so let's start a new game. Let's go out to custom. Here, we'll go to Moonbase, and hang on a second. Moonbase, select, and we'll switch over to Creative. Rename this to Ship Test. And let's double check what we got here. That's all. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, so Moonbase, creative. Let's start. So what I'll do is I'll bring that ship in, and we'll take a look at that. If you notice, the other ship that I had originally that I had landed off the base there is that ship in the background called the Cursor. I made some adjustments to it, and we may go into some of those adjustments a little bit later. Okay, here we are. I always forget how to get the hell out of here. Okay. Alright, here we are. Moonbase. Ta-da. Alright, so there we go. I'm about to say, I'm doing something wrong here. Let's see what happened. Okay, so it was upside down. That sucks. But luckily we're on the moon, so we can deal. Here we go. Straighten down here. There we go. Man, what a nightmare. I have to go back through and double check how to reset to the right gravity. Okay, so here's the original turret. Looks similar, and I did base a lot of that design off of what I saw there. They used big blocks, and so they were able to actually save on some material. I don't know exactly how much more material I ended up using, but these are for missiles only. And then here, so that's where the camera is. And what I felt like was one good hit and you've lost the camera. But with the missiles, you're really not dealing with a whole bunch of accuracy on its own. You're just hoping it's close and that you end up having splash damage and etc. And that. This is a little bit simpler of a design than what I had done, but I wanted to show you what I had to kind of base things off of, and I like this design a lot. The challenge obviously is some of the how to line things up. So when you go and try and connect something from one rotor to another, that really becomes a challenge because you end up having to adjust the depth of the rotor heads to get them to work, and it looks like it's just tempting Clang to all hell and back. So this is what I started everything off of, and I wanted to be very clear about some of the changes that I'd gone through. And some of this had to do with me taking a look at how this ship worked based on what I saw in creative mode here. We're going to try and land this guy. I have to say, on a separate save, I have tried to launch my vehicle, the ship, and it has been a bit of a handful. Let's see if I can. Let's see here. Hydrogen thrusters. On off. Ion thrusters. On off. Okay, so. Turn these guys off. While there are some other details I wanted to get into, I did want to show how the overall turret, since the way these blueprints work, only the large grids, when you have multiple grid designs like these, only the large grids are going to actually render correctly. And the rest you end up having to do by hand. And this is what I had to work off of originally. And this is what gave me the confidence that it could actually work correctly on the console. I worked that out to the best I could. And now we have a fairly functional turret overall. I'm going to save this. We'll come back to it. And that is the new turret now. Still pretty damn big, and it's actually much, much bigger than the other one. And we'll see how things look after launch, which is coming up soon. But meanwhile, thank you very much. I appreciate everyone's patience on this. It's been quite the effort to get this built out. Actually took me about a week to get all of this set up. Thanks everyone for joining me on this. And as always, stay safe out there.